What happens when a beloved Hollywood warrior walks onto a daytime stage known for smiles, applause, and polite disagreements, and walks straight into a firestorm no one saw coming? What happens when charm collides with conviction, when silence snaps, and when a single question lights a fuse that refuses to burn out? Before we dive in, if you love cinematic celebrity stories that feel like you're inside the moment, make sure you subscribe to Stage View, hit that like button, and drop a comment letting us know where you're watching from. You won't want to miss what unfolds next. The studio lights hum softly, a mechanical purr beneath the buzz of anticipation. The audience settles into their seats, some clutching coffee cups, others whispering guesses about what today's interview might bring. On the massive screens, the logo of The View glows brightly, polished, and familiar. It's supposed to be a light segment, an actor promoting a project, a few laughs, maybe a heartfelt moment. Nothing more. Then he walks out. Jason Momoa doesn't enter a room so much as occupy it. Tall, broad-shouldered, hair flowing like he stepped straight out of myth, he smiles as the applause rises. It's thunderous, genuine. Some people stand. Phones tilt upward. There's a ripple of excitement that moves through the crowd like a wave. Jason lifts a hand, a casual acknowledgement, but there's something else behind his eyes today. Not anger. Not yet. Something heavier. Focused. As if he's bracing himself. At the table, the hosts smile in practiced unison. And at the center sits Whoopi Goldberg, relaxed, confident, the unofficial anchor of the panel. She's done this for decades. Presidents. Scandals. Apologies. Meltdowns. She knows how to steer a conversation, and how to stop one cold. Jason takes his seat. The applause fades. The cameras tighten their focus. "So good to see you," Whoopi says warmly, her voice smooth, inviting. "Every time you're here, the energy changes." Jason chuckles. "That's either a compliment or a warning," he replies, drawing laughter from the audience. For a moment, everything feels right. The opening questions are easy. His new project. The physical demands. The dedication. Jason speaks with enthusiasm, his hands moving as he talks, eyes lighting up when he describes the work. The audience leans in. This is the Jason Momoa they know, the charismatic storyteller, the grounded star. But then the conversation shifts. It's subtle at first. A question about responsibility, about influence, about how celebrities should, or shouldn't, use their platforms in turbulent times. Whoopi tilts her head slightly. "You've been very vocal lately," she says. "Some people love that. Others feel celebrities should maybe stay in their lane." The audience murmurs. Not loud, but noticeable. Jason's smile tightens just a fraction. "I don't really believe in lanes," he says carefully. "I believe in people." There it is. The first spark. Whoopi raises an eyebrow, not confrontational, but curious. "But when millions are listening," she counters, words carry weight. And sometimes silence can be more responsible than speaking. Jason leans forward now. His elbows rest on the table. His voice drops, loses its playful edge. "Silence is comfortable," he says. But comfort doesn't change anything. The room shifts. A few audience members clap. Others exchange glances. The hosts glance at one another, sensing the temperature rise. Whoopi doesn't interrupt. She lets him speak. That alone is telling. "You know," Jason continues, "I come from people who didn't have a voice for a long time. When you're given a microphone, choosing not to use it, that's still a choice." The applause grows louder this time, but it's not unanimous. There's tension now, hanging in the air like static before a storm. Whoopi nods slowly. "I hear you," she says. "But there's also harm that can come from speaking without all the facts. From stirring emotions when people are already divided." Jason exhales through his nose, a quiet release of frustration. "Division doesn't start with talking about problems," he replies. "It starts with pretending they're not there." The camera cuts briefly to the audience. A woman in the front row bites her lip. A man folds his arms. Someone whispers, "Oh wow." Whoopi leans back in her chair. Her expression changes, not angry but firm. "Jason," she says, "I've been doing this a long time. I've seen words start fires that couldn't be put out. And I've seen fires that needed to burn," Jason shoots back. Gasps ripple through the studio. For the first time, Whoopi's smile disappears completely. The other hosts shift in their seats. One of them opens her mouth as if to jump in, then stops. This is bigger now. Interrupting would only make it worse. Whoopi's voice lowers. "That's a dangerous way to think." Jason meets her gaze. He doesn't blink. So is telling people to be quiet when they're hurting. The silence that follows is deafening. No music, no laughter, just the hum of studio lights and the collective breath of hundreds of people holding still. You can almost feel the producers backstage scrambling, fingers hovering over buttons, wondering if they should cut to commercial. But they don't. Not yet. Because this raw, unscripted clash is television lightning. Whoopi breaks the silence first. Do you think, she asks slowly, that your perspective gives you the right to speak over others? Jason's jaw tightens. No, he says. It gives me the responsibility to listen, and then stand beside them. A beat. And what about the people who disagree with you? Whoopi presses. Do they get space too? Jason nods. Absolutely. But disagreement isn't a gag order. The audience erupts, half applause, half uneasy murmuring. It's divided visibly, audibly. Some cheer. Others shake their heads. One host finally jumps in, trying to lighten the mood. Well, this is definitely not a boring morning, she jokes weakly. No one laughs. Jason glances around the table, then back to Whoopi. His voice softens, but the intensity remains. Look, he says, I respect you. Truly. But I can't pretend that staying neutral feels like the moral high ground anymore. Whoopi studies him for a long moment. This isn't a soundbite to her. This is personal. And I respect your passion, she replies. But passion without restraint can hurt the very people you want to protect. Jason nods once. Then maybe the real conversation, he says, is about how we handle that pain, not whether we acknowledge it. The cameras zoom in on Whoopi's face. You can see the calculation, the weighing of words, the decision of whether to push harder or pull back. She inhales. We're going to take a break, she says firmly. And when we come back, we'll continue. The theme music swells as the screen fades, but the energy in the room doesn't dissipate. The audience buzzes, whispering urgently. Phones come out despite the rules. Someone in the back mutters, Did that just happen? Jason sits back, running a hand through his hair, eyes distant. Whoopi adjusts her glasses, lips pressed together, already preparing for what comes next. Because this isn't over. Not even close. And when the cameras turn back on, the exchange that follows will push this moment from tense television into full-blown cultural flashpoint. The music fades, but the tension doesn't. It lingers in the studio like smoke after an explosion, curling into every corner, clinging to every breath. During the break, the audience is restless. People lean toward one another, whispering theories, replaying lines, arguing in hushed tones. Some are still buzzing with adrenaline. Others feel uneasy, like they've stumbled into something too real for daytime television. Jason Momoa doesn't leave his seat. He stares down at the table, fingers interlaced, jaw set. The easygoing grin he walked out with earlier feels like it belongs to a different lifetime. Across from him, Whoopi Goldberg confers quietly with the other hosts. Her voice is low, controlled, but there's an edge now, something sharpened by years of being challenged on live TV and refusing to back down. A stagehand counts down with his fingers. 5. Jason exhales slowly. 4. Whoopi straightens in her chair. 3. The audience quiets, instinctively sensing the moment is about to tip. 2. A red light blinks on. 1. The cameras are live again. Welcome back, Whoopi says, her tone professional, measured, but the warmth from earlier is gone. We're continuing a conversation that clearly struck a nerve. Applause breaks out, louder than before, but fractured. It comes in waves, some enthusiastic, some hesitant. Jason nods slightly, acknowledging the noise, but he doesn't smile. He's braced now. Whoopi turns toward him fully. Jason, she says, during the break, we were talking about responsibility. And I want to be very clear here. No one is saying people shouldn't care. But when you speak from a platform this big, you don't get to pretend your words don't have consequences. Jason looks up, meeting her gaze. I don't pretend that, he replies. I live with it. That lands heavier than expected. Whoopi pauses. Then help me understand something, she says. When you speak out and people take what you say and twist it, when it becomes fuel for anger, how do you reconcile that? Jason shifts in his seat. The camera catches the movement, the tension in his shoulders. I reconcile it by knowing silence doesn't stop that either, he says. Anger exists with or without my voice. A murmur ripples through the audience. Whoopi shakes her head slightly. That sounds good, she replies, but it's not always true. Words can legitimize harmful ideas. Jason leans forward again, palms flat on the table now. And words can validate pain, he fires back. They can tell people they're not invisible. The energy spikes. Someone in the audience claps sharply. Another person groans. It's a split screen of America in real time. One of the hosts tries again to intervene. Maybe what we're really talking about is balance. Whoopi lifts a hand, stopping her mid-sentence. Her eyes never leave Jason. No, she says. We're talking about judgment. The room tightens. Jason, Whoopi continues, do you believe everyone should speak out, even if they don't fully understand what they're speaking on? Jason doesn't answer right away. He looks down, then back up, choosing his words. I believe everyone should listen first, he says slowly. But understanding doesn't come from silence. It comes from engagement. Whoopi leans in now, mirroring his posture. And what happens, she asks, when engagement turns into shouting? When nobody's listening anymore? Jason's voice drops. Then we failed each other long before that. A hush falls over the studio. Even the audience members who disagree seem momentarily stilled. Whoopi exhales, audible through her mic. You're passionate, she says. I get that, but passion doesn't make you right. Jason nods once. I know, he says. And being cautious doesn't make you right either. There it is. The line that slices the room clean in half. A wave of reaction crashes through the audience. Gasps, applause, scattered boos. Someone shouts, tell it. Another voice fires back. That's disrespectful. Whoopi's eyes flash. Excuse me, she says sharply, turning toward the crowd. This is a conversation. The audience quiets, but the damage is done. The moment is already spiraling beyond control. Whoopi turns back to Jason, her voice colder now. You're sitting here challenging people who've been fighting these battles long before you had this platform. Jason stiffens. And I'm standing on the shoulders of those people, he replies. Not talking over them. Are you sure? Whoopi presses. Because sometimes it sounds like you're saying your way is the only way. Jason shakes his head. No, I'm saying doing nothing isn't an option. The camera cuts to a close-up of Whoopi. Her jaw tightens. Doing nothing, she says, is not the same as choosing your words carefully. Jason's eyes glisten, not with tears, but with something raw and personal. Careful words didn't protect my family, he says quietly. Careful words didn't stop people from being hurt. The studio freezes. That wasn't rhetorical. That wasn't theoretical. That was real. Whoopi's expression softens for a fraction of a second, just long enough for the audience to notice. Then she schools it back into composure. I'm sorry for what you've experienced, she says. Truly. But personal pain doesn't grant universal authority. Jason nods again, slower this time. Agreed, he says. That's why I don't speak for people. I speak with them. The audience breaks into applause again, louder now, more confident. It rolls across the studio like thunder. One of the hosts glances nervously toward the producer's booth. Another adjusts her microphone, clearly uncomfortable. This has gone far beyond promo talk. Whoopi waits for the applause to die down. When she speaks again, her voice is steady, but there's steel underneath it. Let me ask you something directly, she says. Do you think shows like this, conversations like this, are part of the problem? Jason blinks, caught off guard. The audience leans forward. No, he says after a beat. I think they're part of the solution, but only if we're willing to be uncomfortable. Whoopi studies him. And are you willing to accept that discomfort might mean hearing you're wrong? Jason doesn't hesitate. Yes. The simplicity of the answer throws the room off balance. Whoopi tilts her head. Even from people who disagree with you completely? Jason meets her eyes. Especially from them. For a moment, neither speaks. The silence stretches, taut as a wire. You can feel the audience waiting, collective breath held. Whoopi breaks it with a quiet chuckle. Not amused, not angry, just tired. You're not backing down, she says. Jason shakes his head. Neither are you. A beat. Whoopi nods slowly. No, she says. I'm not. The audience laughs nervously, unsure if they're allowed to. Whoopi turns to the camera. This is what real conversation looks like, she says. Messy, uncomfortable, and unfinished. Jason relaxes back slightly, but the fire hasn't left his eyes. And necessary, he adds. Applause fills the studio again, louder than ever. Not because everyone agrees, but because everyone feels it. The segment is running long. Producers are waving frantically. Time is slipping away. Whoopi glances at the clock, then back at Jason. We're almost out of time, she says. But I want to leave you with this. She pauses. Passion can inspire, she continues. But restraint protects. Don't forget that. Jason nods, absorbing it. And don't forget, he replies softly, that silence can also wound. The music swells again, signaling the end. The cameras pull back. The red light clicks off. But no one moves. The audience erupts into conversation the second they're allowed to speak. Phones are already buzzing. Clips are being uploaded. Opinions are forming at lightning speed. Jason stands, thanks the hosts politely, and exits the stage without looking back. Whoopi watches him go, her expression unreadable. What just happened didn't end when the cameras stopped rolling. It was only beginning. Because once this exchange hits the internet, once it's dissected, replayed, and reframed, the fallout will be louder than anything that happened inside that studio. The studio doors close behind him with a muted thud, but the sound might as well be an explosion. Jason Momoa keeps walking. The hallway feels narrower than before, lights harsher, air heavier. A publicist calls his name from behind, voice tight with concern, but he lifts a hand without turning around. Not now. Not yet. His chest rises and falls, adrenaline still humming through his veins. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't insult anyone. And yet he knows. He knows what just happened crossed a line people don't like crossed on daytime television. Inside the studio, the audience is still buzzing. Conversations overlap, arguments spark between strangers, some defending him fiercely, others shaking their heads in disbelief. A woman near the aisle says, "He said what needed to be said." Another snaps back, "Not like that. Not to her." Whoopi Goldberg remains seated at the table long after the cameras cut. She removes her glasses slowly, rubs the bridge of her nose. One of the producers leans in, whispering urgently, already talking about clips, damage control, tomorrow's headlines. Whoopi nods, but her eyes are distant. She's replaying the exchange, not the words, but the weight behind them. Backstage, phones light up. Jason's publicist finally catches up. "You're trending," she says, trying to sound calm. He gives a short, humorless laugh. "Already. Everywhere." And she's not exaggerating. Within minutes, clips flood X, short, sharp edits of raised eyebrows, clipped sentences, the exact moment Jason said, "Silence can also wound." Some versions cut out Whoopi's context entirely. Others frame Jason as defiant, confrontational. Captions scream in all caps. Hashtags multiply like sparks in dry grass. Hashtag Team Jason. Hashtag Respect Whoopi. Hashtag The View Drama. Hashtag Celebrities Stay in Your Lane. On Instagram, slow-motion edits appear within the hour. Dramatic music swells beneath close-ups of Jason leaning forward, Whoopi's expression hardening. Comment sections turn into battlegrounds. He was brave. He was arrogant. She shut him down. She didn't listen. There is no middle ground. Entertainment blogs move fast, racing each other for the most explosive framing. Jason Momoa clashes with Whoopi Goldberg in heated on-air exchange. Tensions explode on The View. Fans divided after shocking morning show moment. Jason sits in the back of his car, city blurring past the windows. His phone vibrates nonstop on the seat beside him. Messages from friends. From colleagues. From numbers he doesn't recognize. One text stands out. A simple one. From someone he hasn't spoken to in years. "Thank you for saying what you said." He stares at it longer than the rest. At the network offices, executives huddle. Ratings projections spike. Replays rack up millions of views in hours. Someone mentions the word controversy, like it's a resource to be mined. Someone else mentions backlash, like it's a bomb that might still go off. Whoopi's phone buzzes too. Old friends. Fellow hosts. People asking if she's okay. One message from a veteran journalist reads, "You held your ground." She exhales slowly. Held her ground. That's one way to put it. On late-night television, jokes begin almost immediately. A host grins into the camera. Apparently Aquaman brought a tidal wave to daytime TV. The audience laughs. The clip goes viral. Memes follow. But not everyone is laughing. Opinion pieces start to drop by evening. Long threads dissecting power dynamics. Age. Generational divides. Who gets to speak? Who gets told to wait their turn? Who gets forgiven for passion? And who gets labeled difficult? Jason's team urges him to put out a statement. Something calming. Clarifying. Safe. He doesn't. Instead, he opens his own social media app, fingers hovering over the screen. For once, he doesn't know exactly what to say. He thinks of the studio lights. Of Whoopi's face when he mentioned silence. Of the audience gasping, not because he was loud, but because he was honest. He types, deletes, types again. Finally, a single post goes up. No regrets. Conversations matter, even when they're uncomfortable. Nothing more. The internet explodes again. Supporters praise his restraint. Critics accuse him of doubling down. Some demand an apology. Others demand Whoopi issue one instead. On the next morning's episode of The View, the panel opens with a statement. Whoopi speaks carefully, deliberately. Yesterday's conversation stirred a lot of feelings, she says. That was never about silencing anyone. It was about responsibility. She doesn't mention Jason by name. The omission is louder than a shout. Audience applause is polite, but subdued. Viewers at home sense it. The line has been drawn. Jason watches the clip later, alone. He doesn't feel victorious. He doesn't feel defeated. He feels exposed. Like he stepped into a storm and discovered it was bigger than both of them. By afternoon, celebrities start weighing in. Some subtle, some not. A musician posts a cryptic quote about truth and courage. Fans assume it's about Jason. An actor praises Whoopi's grace under pressure. Commenters flood the post, demanding sides. Even politicians join the chorus, turning a morning show exchange into a symbol for whatever argument they were already fighting. What began as a conversation has become a mirror. Everyone sees what they want in it. That night, a grainy audience-recorded video surfaces, uncut, raw, without dramatic edits. It shows moments people missed, Jason nodding when Whoopi spoke. Whoopi listening longer than the clips suggest. The room not as explosive as the headlines made it seem. It gains traction. Slowly. Comments shift. Some people soften. Others dig in deeper. Because by now, it's not really about Jason Momoa or Whoopi Goldberg anymore. It's about who gets to speak, who gets challenged, and how uncomfortable truth is allowed to be before people demand it quiet down. Jason stands on his balcony as the city lights flicker below. His phone is finally silent. For the first time all day, there's space to think. He knows this moment will follow him. Interviews will bring it up. Headlines will reference it for years. He'll be asked if he'd do it again. He already knows the answer. Inside a quiet apartment across the city, Whoopi does the same, reflecting, replaying, questioning. She's been in the spotlight long enough to understand cycles. Today's storm will pass. Another will come. But some moments leave a mark. This one did. Because when two powerful voices collide on live television, the echo doesn't fade when the lights go out. It spreads. By the time the sun rises the next morning, the moment has already calcified into history. Not history as in truth, but history as in versioned. Cut. Shared. Captioned. Argued over by people who weren't there and people who swear they were, even if they watched it alone on a phone in the dark. The exchange has taken on a life of its own, mutating with every retweet, every stitch, every headline that chooses one word over another. Heated. Explosive. Disrespectful. Necessary. Jason Momoa wakes up to a phone that feels heavier than usual in his hand. Dozens of notifications stack on top of each other like a digital avalanche. Missed calls. Voicemails. Messages that swing wildly from gratitude to fury. One reads, "You spoke for me when no one else would." Another, "Stay in your lane." He sits on the edge of the bed, elbows on his knees, staring at the floor. There's no adrenaline now. Just the quiet aftermath, the part no one ever talks about. The part where you ask yourself whether the cost matched the conviction. Across the city, Whoopi Goldberg is already awake. She's been awake for hours. Sleep came in fragments, broken by the same looping questions she's asked herself after 1,000 tough moments on television. Did I listen enough? Did I push too hard? Did I protect the conversation or control it? Her phone buzzes with a message from a longtime colleague. You didn't flinch. Another from a younger host. Thank you for holding the line. She exhales. Holding the line. Another phrase that means something different depending on who's saying it. By mid-morning, the exchange is everywhere. Morning radio shows replay the clip like a prize fight. Pundits pause it frame by frame, analyzing posture, tone, pauses between words. Body language experts are suddenly in high demand. One claims Jason's forward lean signaled moral urgency. Another insists Whoopi's stillness was authority asserting itself. Neither Jason nor Whoopi is invited to speak, yet. Everyone is speaking about them instead. On The View, the audience line stretches longer than usual. People want to be in the room now. They want proximity to the storm. Some carry signs. Some wear shirts with slogans pulled straight from the argument. The producers confiscate what they can, but energy like this can't be screened at the door. Whoopi opens the show again, this time without humor. Yesterday, she says, looking directly into the camera, a lot of people felt seen. A lot of people felt dismissed. Both things can be true. Applause follows, stronger than the day before, but still divided. She continues, "We are not here to create villains or heroes. We are here to talk. And sometimes that means sitting in discomfort." She pauses, then adds, "including our own." That line makes the rounds too. Jason doesn't watch the episode live. He's advised not to. Instead, he takes a long walk, baseball cap low, trying to disappear into a city that refuses to forget his face. A stranger stops him on the sidewalk, hesitates, then says quietly, "I saw what happened. Thank you." Jason nods. "Thanks for watching," he replies. It's the safest thing he can say. The question of an apology begins to circle like a vulture. Some outlets claim sources close to the network are hoping for one. Others insist Jason has been asked to clarify his remarks. Anonymous insiders multiply. None of them speak for the people actually involved. Jason's team drafts 3 versions of a statement. One conciliatory, one firm, one neutral. He reads them all and shakes his head. "No," he says. "That's not it." "What is it?" his publicist asks, not unkindly. He thinks for a long moment. "I don't regret the conversation," he says, "but I don't want it to turn into a war. So what do? We let it breathe. It's a gamble. Silence now can look like avoidance. But more words might only pour gasoline on embers that are already hot." Whoopi makes her own choice. Later that evening, in a rare unscheduled appearance on a late-night show, she addresses it head-on. Not naming Jason, not rehashing the exchange, but reframing it. "People think disagreement is disrespect," she says calmly. "It's not. Disrespect is refusing to see the other person as human." The host nods. The audience applauds. Clips spread, softer this time. Less sharp. More reflective. Gradually, slowly, the tone online begins to shift. Longer posts replace slogans. People share personal stories instead of sound bites. Some admit they changed their minds after watching the full clip instead of the edited version. Others double down, but even that feels less explosive now, more tired. A week later, the moment is no longer breaking news. It's analysis. It's think pieces. It's classroom discussions and podcasts and essays titled "What That Jason Momoa, Whoopi Goldberg Moment Really Meant." And that's when the true aftermath settles in. Not cancellation. Not vindication. Legacy. Jason returns to work. On set, someone jokes lightly about surviving daytime TV. He laughs, but it's quieter than before. Interviews come with a new tone. Questions are phrased carefully. He answers honestly, but with a new awareness of how quickly honesty can be weaponized. Whoopi continues her role, unshaken on the surface, but sharper now in moments that matter. When younger guests speak passionately, she lets them finish. When older ones speak cautiously, she challenges them too. Viewers notice. Some praise it. Some criticize it. She's used to both. Months later, when the clip resurfaces, as it inevitably does, it's no longer framed as a fight. It's framed as a moment. A moment when 2 people refused to perform comfort. A moment when a morning show stopped being background noise and became a mirror. A moment that asked viewers not who was right, but why it mattered so much to them. And that's the part that lasts. Because the audience was never just watching Jason Momoa and Whoopi Goldberg. They were watching themselves, how they argue, how they listen, how quickly they choose sides, and how rarely they sit with nuance. So now it's your turn. Did Jason go too far, or not far enough? Did Whoopi protect the conversation, or control it? Was this clash a problem, or proof that real dialogue is still possible? Drop your opinion in the comments. I'm genuinely curious where you land. And if you want more explosive cinematic stories that pull you inside the moments everyone's arguing about, subscribe to Stage View, hit that like button, and share this video with someone who loves real drama with real stakes. Because the next story is already unfolding, and you won't want to miss it.